Welcome to Alaska Weather, a production of Alaska Public Media and the National Weather Service, Alaska Region. Produced and broadcast daily from the studios of KAKM, Alaska Weather provides complete forecasts, public, marine, and aviation for all of Alaska. Alaska Weather is made possible by the following sponsors.
The National Weather Service.
Hello everyone, thanks again for joining us for this Friday's edition of Alaska Weather. I'm Dave Percy. Up on yesterday's satellite imagery, see lots of fair weather, clear skies over much of the interior, some clouds here. Susitna Valley back toward the Alaska Range. Of course, that developing into some, well, actually drifting off to the southeast there, then developing into some convection in the afternoon, especially the Copper River Basin. Up there into the central Tanana Valley around Fairbanks, eastward to the border. Another band of moisture right through here. Some more clouds up over the northwest. Dry all the way out to the southwest coast. Band of clouds here over western Bristol Bay, the Alaska Peninsula back into the Pribilofs, and more extensive cloudiness there over the Aleutians. Clouds, precipitation here down across the southeast coast, and a band right through, well, this one right here pulling westward. Gradually there into the Wrangell Mountains and locally up toward Northway with a few showers with it. And that just sort of dissipated in place there today. Looking at this trough axis right through here, that band of clouds, a little bit cooler, drier conditions, definitely cooler back up toward the western North Slope areas. And thunderstorms developing all along that band today, all the way down into western Cook Inlet along the Alaska Range. Down in towards the Matanuska Valley and the Talkeetnas, as well as eastward and northward here to the eastern interior. Otherwise, rain and showers there from Yakutat on into mainly the northern southeast coast, really tapering off. Some sunshine breaking out this afternoon down toward the southern areas, Metlakatla on in toward Dixon Entrance, and mostly sunny Kenai Peninsula, Cook Inlet areas with those showers building throughout the afternoon today. And that'll continue into this evening for a while and then begin to taper off. And again, got a cold upper low up there off the northern Arctic coast. And that's brought some areas of light snow to the central coast throughout the day today. Nothing too significant at all. Maybe a little bit heavier on the east side, but very light. And on the chart for today, you see 995 millibar low center up just on the eastern Koyukuk Valley, western Yukon Flats area. And the upper low center back in through here. So a band of moisture, mostly clouds, very light moisture, some fog with that. And then along this trough axis and to the east is where all the thunderstorms are breaking out, some though all the way back here toward the Kuskokwim Mountains. And all the way down toward Iliamna along the western Alaska Range, just about beginning there over the Kenai Peninsula. And scattered all the way up across the eastern interior Copper River Basin areas, and then more extensive rain and showers there over the central northern southeast coast, scattering out west of Yakutat. Areas of fog here over the Bristol Bay area and of course the Bering Sea out through this area. Better conditions though in with more sunshine across the Yukon Kuskokwim Delta areas today. So a few clouds there for the Seward Peninsula. Became pretty overcast there for the Chukchi Sea, right up to the coastline, then breaking out over the Noatak Valley. Western North Slope Brooks Range looking pretty good there with some sunshine. And the Alaska Peninsula not too bad as well. A few clouds there around Kodiak. And Batcha Range just to the south, trying to push up toward the Fox Islands. Mostly just clouds though. And northerly breezes. Not too strong, 10 to maybe 20 miles an hour in the central Aleutians, really becoming light out toward that large area high pressure out over the southwest Bering. And that northerly flow keeps the system to the south, at least through tonight. One band of moisture rotates up and may affect the southern side of the Alaska Peninsula, Unalaska Island areas, possibly late tonight into early tomorrow, but there's just a chance of picking up some rain with that. Winds will stay light. Even where the tighter gradient is, that's pretty light winds become even lighter and more variable. under high pressure out over the areas from Adak all the way to Shimei and Attu, including the Komodorski, southwest Bering, weak ridging extending northeastward there. So all of the Bering looking really light wind-wise, so extensive areas, low clouds, fog, maybe some drizzle, more in the form of drizzle than light rain, but that type of IFR kind of weather pushing in toward Bristol Bay, extending up to around St. Lawrence Island and the Bering Strait, and especially the Chukchi Sea up there. Thunderstorms here, again, that trough axis right about in this position near the Alaska Range up into just west of the Fairbanks area. So again, thunderstorms, especially this evening, quite extensive along and east of that area, possibly even over the Kenai Peninsula. Those will be on the decrease again after midnight, along with the showers, clearing back to the west here and variably cloudy there, south central Alaska, Cook Inlet, North Gulf Coast, increasing areas of low clouds and fog out over the Gulf of Alaska, probably staying to the east of Kodiak at least through tonight, and a band of showers here from Yakutat, could be heavy at times or moderate showers across the northern Panhandle. Dry down to the south, that area high pressure continues that drying trend, or keeping it dry there, keeping that moisture on up just to the north. And then for tomorrow, looking still pretty showery here over the northern southeast coast, tapering off back to the west, so still a chance of some isolated showers, but that chance is diminishing through the afternoon for Yakutat. Convection again in the afternoon over the Talkeetnas, Coast Range possibly. Just a threat of an isolated thunderstorm with that. The area convection a little bit farther north tomorrow than what we saw today, so probably less of that down to the south here, but still look for some showers to develop along the Aleutian Range into the central Alaska Range. Central Alaska Range north and east, pretty good chance of seeing some more thunderstorm activity again midday tomorrow into the afternoon. Cutting off back to the west here, a lot more stable, cooler air mass, so some sunshine there from the Koyukuk Valley, or the Kobuk Valley, and maybe the northern Koyukuk Valley, but more likely the Brooks Range could see some clearing. Cold upper low keeps freezing levels low, so mixed precipitation, showery type precipitation, depending on your elevation there for the central western, mainly western Brooks Range, and still some flurries, fog out along mainly the central western Arctic coast. Better conditions on the east side, but still some patchy fog even there. And no change out here over the Bering Sea, low clouds, fog, very light wind conditions, maybe some drizzle around St. Lawrence Island. That trough kind of stuck up there to the northwest, and high pressure controlling the southwest Bering and the Aleutians. Light variable winds out there, pretty slight seas all the way into Adak and Atka. Light winds, eastern Aleutians. Looks like the rain shield with this system staying just to the south there, actually maybe even pulling back a little bit, but still close enough to keep at least a threat in along the south side of the Alaska Peninsula, but looks like you may get a shot later tonight, and that's about it. Hopefully mostly sunny for Kodiak, low clouds and fog lingering, building actually just to the west here into this large area of surface high pressure over the Gulf of Alaska and Northeast Pacific, and that'll be banked in along the southeast coast as well. So kind of a mostly cloudy day with some scattered showers, again heaviest over the northern and eastern part of that zone. And for Sunday, mostly sunny, partly to mostly here for south central Alaska, Susitna Valley, into the Copper River Basin, and convection now even less, kind of a more cloudy marine type air mass coming into Cook Inlet and into south central Alaska, of course Prince William Sound, more extensive low clouds and fog, especially out in the coastline lingering. That will be even more extensive on Monday, and thunderstorm threat now up along the eastern Alaska Range, eastern Tanana Valley 40-mile country, with partly to mostly sunny skies through the Yukon Flats areas. And this trough still an upper level low affecting that area there. So could be some pretty good showers, but probably won't be of the thunderstorm variety. Those scatter out as that weak trailing edge heads down the river valleys there. Probably not affecting the Bethel area. Variably cloudy, partly sunny, mostly cloudy for the southwest interior. More clouds though along the coast, as well as some fog. Not too bad for the Alaska Peninsula, risk of an isolated shower, but light winds. And again, areas of low clouds and fog near the coast with about the same forecast for the Pribilofs. Light winds, low clouds and fog, and that pretty good forecast actually all the way out to the western Aleutians. And still a chance of some mixed precipitation here. Western Brooks Range on out to the western Arctic coast and maybe the central coast. Otherwise, east side dry. Afternoon showers developing there over the, right around Nanutuvik, in that area, but probably staying west of Arctic Village. And now this moisture here, high pressure in the Gulf, easterly flow, front coming up, easterly flow, probably definitely will push some clouds, a cloudy day with increasing chances of rain and fog there along the east side of Kodiak Island with that push or that trough as it pushes westward. And for the temperatures across the panhandle today, upper 40s to roughly the mid-50s, 59 at Stewart, one of the warmer locations, otherwise 53 at Skagway. Juneau, 49 degrees, and Yakutat the same temperature as well as Petersburg, but Petersburg was 52, Wrangell was 49, 55 in Cordova, same temperature there at Portage, 59 at Seward with a 60-degree reading at Homer, 58 in Kenai with a 68-degree reading up at Palmer. Same thing at Talkeetna, near 70 there at Gulkana in the Copper River Basin. And temperatures kind of varied there in the Tanana Valley, mid to upper 60s, central and east side to 72 at Tanana, but then back up to 72 at Eagle. And again, a range here from mid 50s to lower 70s over the mid and lower Yukon and Kuskokwim River Valley areas to lower 60s out toward Bethel. Farther to the north, lower to mid 60s, 65 Fort Yukon, actually out to the west, mid 40s for the Pribilofs, lower to mid 40s there for the central Aleutians, Atka, possibly up to 52, 50 degrees there in Unalaska with Shemya out at 43 degrees. Lower to mid 50s, the Alaska Peninsula with 62 at Kodiak and a 61-degree reading at Iliamna. And moving to, let's see, the forecast lows for tonight. Again, lower to mid 50s here, northeast to southwest in the interior there in the more reddish shaded areas. Brooks Range on out to the Arctic coast, lower 30s to a tad below freezing. Mid to upper 40s Bristol Bay, lower 40s Alaska Peninsula and Aleutians, and 45 to 53 south central Alaska, 40s Copper River Basin, as well as much of the southeast coast. Highs for tomorrow, 50s. It's about all you can expect there for the Panhandle. Maybe the southern areas pushing up towards 60 degrees. Mid 60s Copper River Basin, upper 50s to mid 60s south central Alaska, mid 50s Kodiak, upper 60s to lower 70s there with the lower 70s mostly over the central and eastern Tanana Valley, upper Yukon Flats to the border. Cooling back, but still mid to upper 30s there along the central and eastern Arctic coast with lower 40s to the west. And for flying weather, IFR along the southwest coast, possibly pushing up the Kuskokwim River Delta area there, as well as Togiak into Dillingham. IFR eastern central Arctic coast, a big patch out here over the Pribilofs in the southeast Bering Sea and south side of the Alaska Peninsula and eastern Aleutians. For tomorrow afternoon, holding on to some marginal VFR over the central and northern Panhandle throughout the day. More extensive IFR from the Pribilofs all the way out to the western Aleutians. Otherwise marginal VFR all along the coastline. VFR for St. Lawrence Island. IFR possible anywhere along the Arctic coast. And VFR for the interior. Anatuvik, VFR, same forecast for Adigan. In fact, all the passes, Brooks Range and as well as the Alaska Range will be VFR. Risk of a thunderstorm though for rainy in the afternoon. Windy, same thing, just an isolated thunderstorm possible. Isabel, same forecast. VFR, any showers or convection will be the VFR variety for Mentasta. Tanita though, VFR. And Portage looking good. Chilkoot and White, marginal. For the freezing levels, kind of a cold pool here over the northern Panhandle, keeping the clouds and showers and unsettled conditions going there. Up to 8,000 feet over the interior, falling back with that cold upper low there and the trough extending southwestward into the Chukchi Sea down to 2,000 feet in the central Arctic coast. Otherwise, about 6,000 to 8,000 for the Bering Sea, cooler toward the eastern Aleutians. Icing here, most likely northern southeast coast there over to about Yakutat and then on up into the Yukon. Another zone here along a trough along the western Alaska Range, northeastward, and then really scattering out just some isolated areas back to the west and north, icing free everywhere else. And for the jet stream, there's that cold upper trough with the low snowfall levels there over the northwest Arctic coast, 40-knot winds around that. Main jet, though, well south of the area and really not expecting any storminess at all. And for the 9,000-foot winds, light for the Panhandle. Northern areas, though, a little brisk with that low up over the Northwest Territories. Could see some westerlies at 30 knots. Then back to that 5 to 10 knot range, southern Alaska. A band of southwesterlies here from Norton Sound on up to the eastern Brooks Range, about 20 knots, and northeast 25 eastern Arctic coast. Otherwise, light for the Bering Sea and the Aleutians. And for the 3,000-foot winds, light Bering Sea and Aleutian, some stronger winds along and to the south of the peninsula and Fox Islands. Ridging light winds here in the Gulf of Alaska and across the Panhandle, 15 to 20 knots southwesterlies in the narrow band through the interior. And for turbulence, really not anything too significant, possibly here Alaska Peninsula, eastern Aleutians, and central Tanana Valley to the White Mountains, maybe northern Panhandle, otherwise really nothing too significant. And after the break, I'll be back to look at the marine forecasts.
You know, the real tragedy of practically every boating-related drowning is that it could have been easily prevented. Wearing a personal flotation device, a PFD, is by far the single most important safety measure you can take when boating. It's a point we've been stressing for years and one that simply cannot be overemphasized. Look at it this way. Virtually every single boating-related drowning could be eliminated if the victim had been wearing a PFD. It's a time of the year when most boats have long since been hauled out of the water. But for more than 2 million waterfowlers in North America, it's the start of their boating season. Some may use a duck boat to head out to a water blind. For others, their boat may be nothing more than a dinghy used to set out decoys. In either case, these boaters operate in one of the most hostile boating environments of all, near freezing water. Roy LeGrand, recently married, had not had the chance to hunt much during the season, but he and his Labrador Retriever Skeeter knew this point on the river could be a real hotspot in the right conditions. And as the wind picked up, the birds began to move and come in from the bay. Now, it looked to be the kind of day every hunter hopes for. One last duck to fill his limit. And one last retrieve for an already tired young dog. According to what LeGrand later told us, a stiffening breeze and a strong outgoing tide pushed this duck beyond the dog's reach. LeGrand said he knew his dog wouldn't give up on the retrieve and soon would be exhausted and in danger of drowning. A crisis, and LeGrand knew he had to help. An 8-foot dinghy in a high wind and choppy water. Hardly the right rescue craft for this kind of operation. And LeGrand faced the challenge of hauling a struggling 50-pound lab on board a small and unstable platform. A young, fit man and a strong swimmer, LeGrand nevertheless later admitted that he thought he and Skeeter would never make it back to shore. Nothing can prepare you for the incredible and instantaneous shock to your system when you're suddenly plunged into near-freezing water. Your first reaction is an involuntary gasp, a torso reflex that can prove deadly if your head is under the water. Your heart and circulatory system undergo a tremendous strain, sometimes resulting in cardiac arrest. Consider that a man, even without clothing, if he stays active, can survive on land at 32 degrees Fahrenheit for as long as 24 hours. But cold water conducts the heat from your body some 25 times faster. Your survival time in near-freezing water is literally a matter of minutes. In fact, drowning is often not the cause of death of many victims who fall into cold water. The killer? Hypothermia, the rapid and drastic chilling of the body core. After getting back into his boat, Roy LeGrand was able to paddle back to the dock. His friend said it must have been his lucky day. But the reasons he came back alive had very little to do with luck. First of all, he was properly dressed for the cold. But the single most important thing he was wearing was a flotation jacket, a PFD, something like this one. By keeping him afloat, he was able to expend all of his rapidly diminishing energy into getting back to his boat and getting out of the water. Wearing a PFD is critically important when boating in cold water, even if you're an Olympic-class swimmer. If you fall in without a PFD, it'll be next to impossible to get one on while in the water. In fact, should you capsize or fall overboard in cold water, your every effort should be directed toward just one goal: getting out of the water as quickly as possible. It's a rule Roy LeGrand didn't forget, and it saved his life. Never forget that water assumes an entirely different character as its temperature drops. From an element that is pleasant and refreshing during the summer, it becomes, as it gets cold, one of the most hostile environments known to man. You know, as I look at the accident reports from around the country, it's frightening to note just how many took place in circumstances where there was no obvious danger. A fisherman casting on a quiet lake, a duck hunter setting out his decoys just a few yards from his blind. The fact is, the vast majority of boating accidents happen without warning, at times when they're least expected. Far too many people who use boats as part of their outdoor recreation simply don't realize how easy it is to get into serious trouble, to actually find themselves in life or death situations. If you don't think so, consider that more outdoorsmen die from drowning or cold water exposure than for any other reason. And in the younger age groups, drowning is the second leading cause of accidental death in the country. So if your outdoor sport involves boats, please take this advice to heart. Take the time to learn basic boat handling skills. Courses are available through your state or provincial agencies, as well as a number of private boating organizations. If you drink, you must understand that alcohol greatly increases your chances of having an accident. If you go out when the water is cold, be prepared and know what to do in case of an emergency. If you can't swim, take a course from your local YMCA or the Red Cross. But no one should ever be embarrassed to wear a PFD. It is by far your best defense against drowning. A few preventative measures, some basic safety rules, and some common sense. Nothing complicated, but it can go a long way towards saving your life.
Welcome back. Pretty light wind-wise here, especially on the south coast. Variable to southeast, just 10 knots. Southwest breeze at 15 for the north coast. Really light winds, Clarence Strait. Picking up though, south 20 there for Stevens Passage. Small craft advisories for Northern Canal, seas up to 5 feet. And then the outlook for Sunday, much lighter winds. Actually, inside waters, Northern Canal all the way down to Stevens Passage. Light and variable, 5 to 10 knots. Seas just 2 feet or less. Easterlies 15, increasing to 20 knots on the south coast there with 5 to 6 foot seas, and then dropping off and actually swinging around to the west on the extreme north coast, but only at 10 knots. And then the outlook for Bristol Bay for tomorrow is variable winds, light and variable winds at 10 knots, seas just 2 feet. Southwesterlies here at 15 for the North Gulf Coast, 6 foot seas. South 15 for the Barren Islands, and dim 20 knots out of the south there for the east side of Kodiak here. Southwest, same speed, Chillicothe Strait turning south. Small craft advisories actually out through Saturday night for Cook Inlet, south to southwest, 25 knots tomorrow with 7 to 8 foot seas. Those fall back considerably though on Sunday, down to 10 knots from the west-southwest, seas coming down 2 to 3 feet. Northeast winds, reversal here for the Kodiak Island zones and the Barrens, and even Kachemak Bay, 15 to 20 knots. Light variable winds for the North Gulf Coast, seas just 4 feet. Same thing for Prince William Sound. And for the Bristol Bay zone, light southwesterlies turning northeast 15. Easterlies at 20 from Cape Saracheff to Castle Cape. Outlook for Sunday, northeast. Small craft advisories there from Castle Cape to Sitkinak, 7 foot seas, 20 knotters on down to Cape Saracheff. Light variable winds on the Bering Sea side of the peninsula. Eastern Aleutians, Unalaska Island, northeast 15 to 20 knots. Nikolsky on out to Adak and Atka. Northerlies 15 to 20. Light and variable under a high pressure center there for the Western Aleutians. And then on Sunday, those become westerly 15, turning northwest to 20. A narrow zone of 20 knotters there west of Adak. Light and variable Adak to Atka, and then some 15 knot northerlies become northeast on the north side of Unalaska Island. Southwest coast variable to westerly, all at 10 knots. Light variable winds over all of the Bering Sea tomorrow, north 10 for St. Lawrence Island. And that holds through Sunday. Light variable winds again for the Pribilof, so a really light wind weekend coming up there for much of the Bering Sea, as well as the Aleutians, west-southwest for the southwest coast, 10 to 15. Eastern Beaufort Sea coast, easterlies 15, pick up to 20 knots on the central coast, turn northeast to 20 knots, all the way down here to Cape Thompson. Cape Thompson on down, northerlies at 20 knots with 5-foot seas. Then for Sunday, northwest 15 knots here for the Chukchi Sea, and then from Cape Thompson to Cape Beaufort, 15 knots, northeast 15. Easterlies at 10, pick back up to 15 knots as you get over toward demarcation point. And for tonight up there, some flurries possible. Central coast continuing, maybe on the west side, maybe mixed. Nothing significant. Cloudy over the north slope. Thunderstorms, Brooks Range this evening, all through this area, especially this evening where they're breaking out currently down along western Cook Inlet, Kenai Peninsula, northward there to the Matanuska Valley, Copper River Basin. Northern Panhandle, heaviest rainfall continues there, mostly in the form of showers. And the Bering Sea, light winds, low clouds and fog. That's a good forecast right through Sunday. Otherwise, still thunderstorm activity, western Alaska Range, northern portion northeastward again over to the border tomorrow, a little bit farther north, so maybe some more sunshine, or will be more sunshine, south central Alaska. Showers beginning to taper off for the Panhandle, leading to a dry day on Sunday with more sunshine, low clouds and fog along the North Gulf Coast, mostly sunny southern Alaska, less convection and thunderstorms here over the interior. Best chance will be right through this area. Showers, though, with this trough back to the west, heaviest up to the central Brooks Range. And no change for the Bering Sea with light variable winds, high pressure, lots of low clouds and fog. Kodiak Island, increasing chances for rain.
These forecasts are to be used for planning purposes only. Call 1-800-WX-BRIEF for a formal pre-flight briefing. Always file a flight plan before you go flying. The U.S. Coast Guard Auxiliary urges you to leave a float plan with a friend or the harbor master before you go boating. Alaska Weather is made possible by the following sponsors.
The National Weather Service.